want to say good morning, everyone. My name is Jerry Shockey. I oversee all the youth and educational programs here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and we're pleased that you guys could join us for our Heart of the Hall of Famer series. This is obviously the second session today, so we're excited to be able to bring a new group of folks in to interact with Mr. Rayfield Wright. And some of you have tuned in before for this, and many of you are new to this. So one of the things we like to convey is the real premise behind this program is to dive into what it took to get in the Hall of Fame beyond just the athletic ability. And, you know, one thing that can be said about our Hall of Famers, we know that they're examples of great athleticism, but they're also great examples of character. Because, so, you know, one thing that can be said about them is that if their God-given ability didn't lie in pro football, they would have gone on to excel in other areas of their life. And many of them have. And Mr. Rayfield Wright is an example of someone who's excelled both on and off the field. Because at their core, they have those trustworthiness, the respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. And that's what makes them go on to great things, whether it be great in their foundations, great in their, we've got guys that are U.S. congressmen, we've got guys that are Minnesota Supreme Court justice, guys that are on TV, guys that own their own businesses, like Mr. Rayfield Wright. So a lot of examples of those. So this is an opportunity for you guys to talk with one of the greats and learn a little bit about what he went through and how in achieving those things. And he had a great message to share, a message last session that I think you guys repeated about being a good listener, about preparing yourself, about commitment, about leaning on people. So there's a lot of different things that I'm sure Mr. Wright will be willing to share with you guys today. But before we do that, before we ask Mr. Wright with his opening remarks, what we'd like to do is first of all, thank all those folks that helped make this possible. And first and foremost, we have to thank Arlington Heights High School and Fort Worth ISD. They are the ones hosting Mr. Wright. And without them, it wouldn't have been possible. They opened up their doors to Mr. Wright and allowed him to come to one of the high schools and get in front of the equipment and do a national broadcast. So thank you to Fort Worth ISD. We thank Lee McChesney, Becky Navarre, and Hector Sarabia. We thank you for all your help with making it possible. It wouldn't have been possible without you. We have to thank our friends at E-Tech, Jason, Josh, and Mark. Those are the folks that are in Columbus, Ohio, through our State Department of Education, who are bridging all these calls together that many of you have worked with before or worked with even this morning if you were having any problems. So thank you to all those folks there that helped make this possible. We have to thank the teachers, obviously, because without the teachers doing the prep work and making the connections and doing the test connections and all the things that have to take place to make this connection possible, it wouldn't have been possible. So thank you to the teachers for that. But last but definitely not least, we would like to thank the students, because I know the work that you guys have done beforehand. You know, many of you have, I've seen your questions you've submitted. You've done some prep work, and obviously preparation, I think, is a word that you'll hear repeated a few times throughout this program. But thank you for all your hard work. And at this time, what I'd like to do is give students the opportunity to give a shout out, to show some school spirit. Again, I apologize, as I did the last session, to any schools. Go ahead and shut your doors on your classrooms or in your libraries. So I apologize for allowing your students to shout out in the middle of your school. But what we're going to do is, at that time, we'll ask you to unmute your microphones and give a shout out for your school. And we'll start off with the host site, Arlington Heights, that make sure that they don't hurt Rayfield's ears there. But go ahead, Arlington, if you want to give a shout out. Thank you, Arlington. We appreciate that. And then, are you going to be outdone again by Tidwell Middle School? Tidwell, go ahead. Fort Worth rivalry. We like that. We like that. So Tidwell, thank you very much. Go ahead and mute your microphones there. And let's go to not too far from here in Canton, Ohio. Our good friends in Dayton, Ohio. Let's go to Longfellow Alternative High School. Okay, thank you, Longfellow. Appreciate you guys tuning in here. Go ahead and mute your microphones there, Longfellow, and let's go to Gloucester City, New Jersey, and Mary Alpha Costello Middle School. I won't be saying that 5 times fast anytime soon. Okay, thank you. I'll just call you guys Mary Middle School, okay, just to make things simple for me today. So when I call Mary Middle School, that's when you can tune in with your questions. Let's go to Cazenovia, New York, Cazenovia High School. I'm not sure if you guys are connected yet or not.
Yay!
Okay, good. You guys did get connected. Awesome. Thank you, Cazenovia. Appreciate that. And let's go to, I don't know if they're coming in any second because they just had a last-minute fire drill that apparently You know, all teachers can appreciate those unexpected fire drills. Kettle Run, Brian, are you in there? If you can give a cheer for your school. Oh, the students made it. Okay, good. Thank you, Kettle Run. Perfect. All right, and joining in by view only today, but they'll be tuning out throughout the broadcast. There are two schools in Blounteville, Tennessee. And let's go to first, Sullivan Central. Go ahead. Pumped up. Wasn't that many people. And then go ahead and mute your mics for Sullivan Central. Let's go to Sullivan East now. Did I hear an E? Somebody came across that. Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Sullivan East. Thank you very much. Go ahead and mute your microphones there, and I'll remind all schools, but please, just so we can eliminate any interruptions throughout the program, please keep your microphones muted. And then even after you ask your question, as we rotate through the questions, even after your question, if you can mute your microphone immediately, just so we can eliminate any distractions. So thank you to all the schools. Well, I'd like to introduce our featured speaker here for today, and that's Hall of Famer Mr. Rayfield Wright. He was the Cowboys' 7th-round pick in the 1967 NFL Draft. He earned permanent starting right tackle position in 1970. He was known as Big Cat. He earned first or second team All-NFL honors 6 consecutive times, and he was also selected to play in Pro Bowl following each of those seasons as well. He started in 6 NFC Championship games and played in 5 Super Bowls. He was named to the NFL's All-Decade Team of the 1970s. And obviously, the biggest honor, or the pinnacle achievement of success that an individual player can achieve, is being enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And he was bestowed that honor in 2006. We like to highlight both on the field and off the field because, again, as I said before, you'll find that in many cases, and Mr. Wright's an example of this, you'll find probably their off-the-field achievements are even greater than their on-the-field achievements. And since retiring from professional football in 1980, he experiences personal rewards working with children and at-promise students. Rayfield is one of the original founders of Kids for Tomorrow, a nonprofit organization of professional athletes who work with children from kindergarten through 12th grade. Other community contributions include Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Say No to Drugs, the Boy Scouts of America, where he achieved Eagle Scout status, Special Olympics, A Place for Grace, Make-A-Wish Foundation, and the Nelson Center. So you can see he's involved in a lot of giving and charitable organizations, which I think, as you'll hear, that's really, football was one thing, that's really where his passion lies. As a dynamic, inspirational speaker, Rayfield delivers powerful and mentoring messages to today's high school students and college athletes. He is also a motivational speaker to national and local businesses, churches, charities, and nonprofit organizations. Rayfield is currently the president of Team Wright Exploration, which is a minority-owned all-inclusive oil production corporation. He is also the CEO of Wright Sports and Nutrition. He's the president of the Rayfield Wright Foundation and the co-author of his autobiography titled Right Up Front. He has 4 children, 3 granddaughters, and resides near Fort Worth, Texas. So before we ask Mr. Wright for his opening remarks, I'd like to share with you guys a quick little snippet of his playing career.
Taken in the 7th round in the 1967 draft, Rayfield Wright was given little chance of making the Cowboys' final roster. But number 70 defied the odds and became a member of the NFL's All-Decade Team for the 1970s. In Wright's 13 years, he played in 5 Super Bowls, winning 2 of them. The Big Cat's determination and commitment to excellence helped place his name with some of the best players to have ever played the game.
And if all the schools can join me and unmute your microphones for a second and join me in giving a warm round of applause to Pro Football Hall of Famers. And again, we'll ask all these schools to go ahead and mute your microphones until we call upon you at this time. And at this time, Mr. Wright, the microphone is yours, sir.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Jerry. I really appreciate that. First of all, I'd like to give praise and thanks to our Father in heaven through his Son, Jesus Christ, who have blessed me with so many talents, skills, and abilities, and whom I also know that he has blessed each of you. with certain talent, skills, and ability. And I thank all of the sponsors and all of the schools and all of the teachers and so forth who have brought these young people together to share some words of thought and wisdom. So I'm excited about being here, and I'm excited about the kids being here.
Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much let this program, as opposed to us, throwing our agenda at you guys, really this program is going to feed off of Q&A from your students so we can answer the questions that you guys want to know about Mr. Wright. And let me just keep this in perspective for you guys for a minute. There have been 25,000 players that have played in the National Football League since the start in 1920. There are only 273 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and out of those, 230 are actual players. So you are talking about one of the greatest football players that has ever played in the National Football League. All the games greats that you see on TV today, whether on offense, whether on defense, whether offensive lineman, defensive lineman, they hope to be in Mr. Wright's shoes someday and be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So this is an opportunity for you to ask those kind of questions because, in order to achieve greatness, he had to persevere through a lot of things through life, on and off the field. So this is an opportunity for you to ask how to achieve greatness, because greatness can be in football, can be in the classroom, can be in your workplace, can be with your family. It could be working with your local foundation, whatever it could be. This is your opportunity to ask him those questions about what it took to get there to the level that he did, because he not only had a Hall of Fame career on the field, but he had one off the field as well. So the way we're going to work it, we're going to go from one question, and we'll go through as many rounds as we can from the students, and we're going to work in the order. Arlington Heights, which are the students that are joined in the same classroom with Mr. Wright. We have Tidwell Middle School in Fort Worth, Texas. We have Longfellow Alternative High School, and then we will go to Mary Middle School. We will then go to Cazenovia High School, and then we will go to Cattle Run High School. So that'll be the order of the questions. We'll go one from each classroom, rotate as many times through as we can. And looking forward to some exciting questions and responses from Mr. Wright. So with that being said, let's start off in the classroom that has Mr. Wright. Go ahead with the question.
Mr. Wright, how did your football career help prepare you for a career in business?
That's a very, very interesting question because football certainly was a great influence in the business world for me, and all of the things that I learned playing sports contributed to my success in the business world. And from teamwork to dedication through commitment, aspirations, and wanting to be a part of something that is greater than I am. And I am so thrilled and happy about the things and the individual people from my schools that I attended, and the coaches and the parents of other students and of the community, which have been a great influence in my life, not only in the sports arena, but also in the community.
Okay, Arlington, thanks for the great first question to start the program off, and let's go to Tidwell Middle School. Go ahead, Tidwell.
Okay. What did you use for motivation on the football field?
What did I use for motivation on the football field? The motivation on the football field is the same motivation that have stirred me my entire life. And that is preparing myself to be the very best athlete that I could become. And my coaches and all of those who have touched my life. I remember Coach Landry once telling me, once I began to start at offensive tackle, I told him that, Coach, I never played this position before in my life. And I said, but I will give it everything that I have. And he said two words to me, I believe. And that was enough for me. And that kind of stirred a little fire inside of my stomach that someone believed in me to do and perform the very best that I could do.
Thank you, Tidwell. And let's come here in the state of Ohio to Longfellow Alternative High School. Go ahead.
What does it take to make it in the NFL?
What does it take to make the NFL? Well, the NFL is a very unique opportunity, number one. And number two is that your athletic and skills and abilities that you have may give you the opportunity to play in the National Football League. But as we know, there are a lot of great athletes around this country that have not received the opportunity to play in the National Football League. I recall my rookie year, there was 137 rookies trying to make the Dallas Cowboy football team. And out of that 137, only 5 made the team. And I was one of those 5. Now, the motivation, the inspiration, the hard work, the dedication, the commitment, all of those play a part in your attitude, all those play a part in your development. So you have to remember those things, not just of your teammates, but also at the foundation which was laid for you. And that is from your parents, whether or not you're raised by an individual in your family or you're raised by the community, which I was.
Thank you, Longfellow. And let's go to New Jersey and Mary Middle School. Go ahead.
Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright, as a child,
Yes.
what person was your greatest influence that helped you become the man you are today?
That's a very, very interesting question because there are so many individuals that touched my life. And I would say that the most important person that touched my life was my grandmother, because she always kept her hand on me and would not let anything negative come in my life. Even though there were obstacles that I faced, but the way that she handled those obstacles for me and the way that I listened to her then gave me the opportunity to face the different challenges and obstacles that I had to face in my life.
Great question there, Mary Middle School. And let's go to New York, Casanova.
Do you have any regrets in your life, things you wish you had done and didn't?
Do I have any regrets in my life that... Didn't hear the last part of the question.
Things you wish you had done and didn't?
Oh, the things that... No, I don't have any regrets at all, because opportunities will come your way. And you have to prepare yourself, dedicate yourself, commit yourself to the opportunities that does come your way. I didn't like football that much. I was a basketball player, and I was a very good basketball player. And I wanted to play basketball. I went out for football in high school, and I couldn't even make the high school football team. So it would say to any individual that my interest was not in football. But at the same time, it was an opportunity for me, and you cannot pass up opportunities, which opportunities will come your way, and you have to be open to see those opportunities after preparing yourself for life in this world, and you will recognize the opportunity that will advance you to the next level in your life.
And, you know, that's really important to know. And I'll give you guys 2 great examples of, on the field of 2 great examples that come to mind when you think about an opportunity presented to them, and that they were prepared enough that as soon as that opportunity arose, they took it and they ran with it, and literally were through with it, I guess you could say. And one is, I think of Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers, who followed up Brett Favre, I mean, a legend in Green Bay, to follow that, that legend, that lure of Brett Favre, I mean, just, one of the all-time great quarterbacks, and to follow that up, and not only follow that up, some might argue outperform him afterwards, I mean, but that was all about preparation. As Mr. Wright said, that was the opportunity presented itself, and he was prepared and ready. And the other example of someone right now, too, is Tim Tebow, someone who didn't start last year, someone that didn't kind of lay down to what the critics said about him, that he couldn't be a quarterback, he couldn't win in the NFL. And the opportunity arose again for him. He was prepared, he was ready, and when that opportunity opened up, he took it and ran with it. And he probably ran a little bit more than he threw with it, being the type of quarterback Tebow is. But anyhow, with that being said, let's go to Kettle Run.
How did playing for Coach Landry affect you as a person and as a player?
Well, Coach Landry was a very, very important person in my life and in the players' life that played for him. The thing that I admired about Coach Landry was that he always kept God first in his life, then family, and then football. Football was not number one in Coach Landry's life. And what happened is that all of the things of his faith that he believed in affected the players that played for him. And that was something good. He was a great coach, a great person, and he took care of his family, and that was a response to all of the players on the team, because everything from the top flowed down, even to the equipment manager. So it wasn't just a part of something, it was the whole, it was all of it in football with the Dallas Cowboys.
And thank you, Kettle Run. And before we go back to Arlington Heights for your next question, Mr. Wright, can you share, it was a great story you shared last time, because not only is it just dynamic in telling that story, but it's got a great message as well. And the story of Mr. David Deacon Jones, somebody that students might know, because he's the guy that he says he invented the term sack, and someone that you went up against to get in your first NFL game. So you want to share that story with them?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Deacon Jones, which some of you have probably heard or seen on television, was one of the most feared defensive linemen ever to play the game in the National Football League. They had a move in those days, and they called it a head slap, where he would actually take his hand and just slap you upside the head. And in studying him, I even noticed and saw some players that he slapped upside of the head, their helmet came off. And that's how hard and how impactful his play in the National Football League was. Now, one of the gentlemen that played offensive tackle and was starting for so many years for the Cowboys received an injury. And Coach Landry called me in his office and said, "Rayfield, you are starting this week." And I recognized who we were playing against, and I had to face the most feared defensive lineman in the National Football League. Matter of fact, they called him the Secretary of Defense. And I'm saying to myself, wow, I got to face this guy? And he's as tough as he's been. He gets to the quarterback 5-6 times a game. And I asked my offensive line coach, "Coach, are you sure this is the individual that I have to block?" So he said, "Yes," but they had faith in me, and they believed in my athletic ability that I could do the job. Now, the first play of the ball game, Roger Staubach calls the play. The ball was going to be snapped on 2, and I'm looking at Mr. Jones right square in his eyes, and his eyes was red as fire, and he was kicking his back leg like a bull. Now, you know when a bull kicks his leg, he's coming after you. So I knew that. And in between the pause, from the first to the second hut, I hear a voice. And it wasn't my quarterback's voice. It was Deacon Jones' voice. Because you, as an offensive lineman, you're taught to listen and hear your quarterback's voice. And with all the cheerleaders yelling and screaming, all the people in the fans yelling and screaming, the defense yelling and screaming, you have to recognize the voice of your quarterback, because he can call a color or a number and change that play, which changes your techniques. And in between that pause, I hear this voice, and this voice says to me, he says, boy, he said, do your mama know you out here? And I heard it. So when Roger called the second hut, I never heard him because, number one, he broke my concentration. And number two is that my focus left me because I could not understand why this gentleman was talking about my mother on the national televised game. And he came across the line of scrimmage and he hit me, and he hit me so hard that I went backwards. And then he comes up after the play was over. He says to me, hey, welcome to the NFL. And I'm saying, Mr. Jones, you don't know my mom, so don't talk about it. And if you want to play the game like this, we'll play it. And I received the game ball. He never touched Roger. I was MVP of the game, and Coach Landry never took me out of right tackle. Now, that started my career at right tackle from the position that I was drafted in to play, a tight end position, and I never played tackle before in my life. So my point to the students that are listening, it is so important that the word listen is thought of, remembered, and taken place in your life, because that's how you learn. You learn by listening, not by talking. And Coach Landry used to tell us that we would learn more by losing the game than we would learn by winning the game. Because in preparation, that's where you truly learn things when you don't know. So if you don't know, you ask your parents, ask the teachers, ask those elders that's in your community, and they will help you and give you their answers. Then you have the decision to make.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Wright, about asking people to help you, because sometimes, it's funny in sports, if we have a problem, whether it's, shooting a free throw or, working on your footwork, working on your strength, whatever it might be in football, or your throwing accuracy or whatever it might be. When you have trouble with those things, you have no problem going up to the coach, hey, coach, I need to work on this. Okay, let's go after practice. We'll do 1,000 reps, to make sure that you're getting the form down in repetition. But when it comes to school and other areas, it's almost thought of as uncool or something, or you're embarrassed. It's like a weakness to ask for help. And I can tell these students, and I'm sure Mr. Wright will agree with me, is that it's not a weakness, it's a strength. It actually shows that to be able to ask those types of questions shows how strong of a person you are, because you're willing to listen and willing to learn by asking that question. So, don't be scared to ask those questions, because nobody knows all the answers, at least on this earth, knows all the answers. So, I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Wright, because I think that's an important lesson for these students to get from this as well. Let's go back to Mr. or Arlington Heights there with Mr. Wright.
You put a lot of time and effort into inspiring and motivating youth. Can you tell me about a young person that has inspired you and how?
Well, there are a lot of young people, a lot younger than I am, that have inspired me to continue doing the things that I do to help make me successful and to keep me on the right track. You look at life as life is, and the way things are today, which have changed a lot from the time that I was a child and the time that I grew up, the more the computers and all of that, I have no idea of the computers. I don't even know how to use them, except the fact that the text messages and answering the phone and responding in that manner, the rest of it I have no idea. So I recall and I depend on my kids and my grandkids to help me learn those things. Now, on a personal side, the way that kids are today, I try to teach my kids and others that I get involved with through charitable organizations that you should teach them the way they should go, so when they get older, they won't depart from those ways. So what I'm saying is that the foundation is so important that is laid for you at a young age. And to see young people attentive, to see them listen, to see them eager to learn. And like Jerry, you said, ask questions if you don't know. That shows strength. So there are a lot of young people around the country that have helped me, and I have recognized their abilities and where they could go if they stay on track, that have truly, truly helped me to continue to do the things that I do.
That's a very interesting question, Arlington. I appreciate you asking that. So let's go to Tidwell.
How, as an adult, do you feel you are continuing to show and better your character?
Well, you know, character is very, very important to each of us. And if you look at another person and you care about that person, and that person recognize that, and they recognize your ability to work with others, then your character is going to be looked at. If you feel the importance of you being recognized, then all of those around you is going to see and going to feel your character, your concern, your development is going to see that, and you continue to do the things that you do, which is good, that helps build your character. Because remember that your character, your ethics, and your mental state plays a very, very important part in your developing character of an individual.
Okay, thank you, Tidwell. And let's go to Dayton, Ohio, Longfellow.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wright. My question is, what was the biggest and most difficult obstacle you had to overcome leading up to your NFL career?
Well, the story I just told about Deacon Jones was one of the biggest obstacles I think I've ever faced in my life, knowing, you know, who this player was and what he did. But you look at the other obstacles in the life that you face, and you wonder why that this obstacle, you know, facing you. And you have to remember that you are special, you are significant, and you are important. And you have to believe in yourself that you can overcome any obstacle that comes your way. It's like driving a car down a highway. And down that highway, you're going to run across curves in the road. You're going to go down hills. You're going to come up hills. You even possibly will cross water. But you can get through those obstacles that will face you. And sometimes, as hard as you work, as hard as you believe in yourself, you may fall off the road. But remember that it's not a matter of how many times you fall off the road. It's a matter of how fast you get up and get back on the road. Because obstacles will certainly be a part of your growth and your development. So those obstacles that face you, if you don't know and if you don't understand why this obstacle is in front of you, then you have to let people that have the knowledge and the experience, which would be older people more so than you are, such as your teachers, your parents, and people and individuals in your community. And you share that with them, they will give you their feelings and their answers and how they would handle certain things, but the choice is yours. You have to make that decision based on all of the knowledge and information that you have received.
And sometimes those obstacles come in the shape and form of defensive lineman named Deacon Jones that gives you a head slap and knocks you on your rear end, right? So, but you got back up.
Right.
You got back up.
I got back up.
Let's go to Mary Middle School.
Mr. Wright, did you face many challenges as an African American football player? If you did, how did you handle them?
That's a very interesting question, because opportunities come your way in many, many ways. And it makes no difference the color of your skin, where you come from, or how you came, that you are still special, significant, and important. And if opportunities come your way, then you have to prepare yourself, and you have to do the very, very best that you can do. And when you do that, other individuals that you're involved with, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's on the sports, then they recognize that you have done your very, very best, and you have nothing at all to be ashamed about based on your performance. Now, the opportunities for a lot of blacks, a lot of Hispanics have come in the National Football League, and each of those individuals have prepared themselves, dedicated themselves, committed themselves, and they work very hard to become the person that they are. And when you do that, other people recognize you and your work ethics. And that's what you need in preparation for any kind of advancement, whether it's in the classroom or it's in sports. We learned a lot from each one of them.
Thank you, Mary Middle School. Let's go to Casanova.
Why is it important to be a team player on and off the field?
Why is it important? Can you help me out with that? Yes.
Why is it important to be both a team player on and off the field?
Well, one thing about it is that we all want to be successful in life. And you can't become successful by yourself. It takes other people for you to become successful. And the other people is a part of a team. Just as sports, in playing football, basketball, running track, or hockey, or any of that nature, you have other players that is a part of your team. Just as the teacher, your parents, your scoutmaster, your minister, all of those people is a part of your team off the playing field. And it is so important for them to be a part of your life that they can share their experiences with you and will help you develop your talent, skills, and abilities that you have been blessed with. So it's very, very important, again, to listen, because it's hard to understand and to know things when you're talking. So the most important thing is to listen, and listen to those that have had experiences in this life and in this world.
And you guys will find with your team, you know, there's teammates that you don't get to choose, those folks that are going to be in your life that are in your life for whatever reason, whether it's your parents or whomever. But you also have a lot of choices to make on who's on your team as well, whether it's your minister, your Cub Scout leader, whatever it might be. You know, one of the things that you'll find that I hear reoccur quite often with this program with our Hall of Famers is that if you want to be the best in a certain area, you got to surround yourself with the best. So you need to choose those folks that are going to impact and influence your lives, and choose them wisely. Some people choose the wrong crowd to hang around with. Some people choose the right crowd. So you have that choice as well, is picking your team, so to speak, your team in life and being successful in life. So let's go ahead and go to Kettle Run.
What were your teammates like?
What was my teammates like? My teammates were individuals who wanted to excel and wanted to display all of their talent, skills, and abilities, and bring all of those together with all of the players to become successful. And all the attitude and the character of these individuals was so great that you just can't really imagine these players being a part of something along as you with one goal in mind. And not just playing the game of football, but when you are involved in something and there's an ultimate goal that you're trying to accomplish, it takes more than you to reach that goal when you have a team. So each and every player that's on that team has to have the same focus and have to prepare themselves, whether offense or defense or special teams, and understand their role and understand their position and how their role and position can help the team reach their ultimate goal.
Okay, and thank you, Kettle Run. Let's go back to Arlington Heights.
Of the many honors bestowed on you, which is the most memorable and why?
Well, there are a lot of honors that have been bestowed upon me, and
well, listen to this one in Canton, Ohio.
Well, this is the greatest one because it's the ultimate in the National Football League. You can't go any higher than the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and certainly you don't think when you're growing up as a child that you're going to even play the game or even reach a professional level. You just go out to do the very best that you can, and the Hall of Fame is the ultimate, but there's others, instances that have been very, very important to me, and that's my parents, my coaches in my life, my minister, my Boy Scout master, which was mentioned. I'm an Eagle Scout. These are very important, but I want to share something with you. When I was in the Boy Scouts, and at the Boy Scout master at the end of the 2 weeks, the Boy Scout master would have the daddies of all of the kids come out so that they will be able to see exactly the honors and the merit badges and so forth that their kids was working on to become an Eagle Scout. Now, based on my situation, not knowing my dad, I'm there with the group, and when the fathers came out, they grabbed their kids by the hand and then they took them to their campsite. Now, I was left standing alone by myself, and my Boy Scout master saw what was going through my heart and through my mind, and he reached his hands out and put his arms around my shoulder and says, "Rayfield, come go with me, and let's make sure that everyone get to their proper site." And that empty feeling that I had went away and has never come back. So for someone to reach out and touch you is so important, because they have the confidence that you can become the very best, and that you listen, and that you have the opportunities in so many ways and areas to develop your character, your skills, your abilities that will keep you headed forward in life. And I was very, very pleased of that, because that helped me to become a better person and a better athlete.
And thank you, Arlington Heights. Let's go to Tidwell.
Do you regret playing football instead of going after a pro career in basketball?
No, I don't. I don't object the opportunity that I had. I had two opportunities, one in football and one in basketball, as well as you know. And these opportunities, you have to prepare yourself to get involved in the things that are interesting to you. But remember, at the same time, things that you are interested in don't always come your way. And because of the many blessings that have been stored upon you, and recognizing those blessings, I knew that sports was my way out of things, not just for me, but my family, my brothers, and my sister. And, you know, I wanted to dedicate myself and commit myself to that. And it didn't come to me in basketball, which when I went out for football, I couldn't even make the high school football team. Now, did I quit? No. Did I continue to work? Yes. Work hard, dedicate yourself, commit yourself, and do the very best you can, and you don't look back. Remember, you can't go forward looking back. So looking back is basically, it's a testimony of what you have been through and what you have come out of, and it's in hopes for tomorrow that will help build the foundation that you have so that you can even help other people. So I don't regret at all that I became a football player instead of a basketball player, which that was my best skills in basketball.
And thank you, Tidwell. Let's go to Longfellow.
How did you overcome all the negative influence in your life?
Well, you overcome negative influences in your life, whether or not it's your friends or it's your neighbors who do not want to see you advance in life. They want you to stay exactly where they are. But life is more important than that. And what I did was I leaned on the good side of the good people that I knew was good that could help me, instead of those that could hurt me and wasn't going anywhere in life. So life is special, and you have to remember that, and you have to remember who you are and how special, significant, and important you are, and that there's things that you should do in life to help not just yourself and your family, but also to help other people. So I look to those individuals in my life, such as my parents, my Boy Scout master, my minister, coaches, teachers. I look to those to give me and to lead me in a direction that will make me a good person, and also be able to advance myself in life, and also to help other people. And I did not look at the negative side of things, because it would take me and put me in a place that I could not become successful nor the person that I'm supposed to be.
Thank you, Longfellow. Let's go to Gloucester, or excuse me, Mary Middle School, Gloucester, New Jersey.
Hi, Mr. Wright. As a future running back for the Philadelphia Eagles, my question for you is, did you ever have a favorite sports figure, and what qualities did he or she possess that made them your favorite?
Well, there was a lot of great players in the National Football League, and they were very special in the position in which they played, and it wasn't necessarily just of the Cowboys. You have to respect other players. Coach Landry once told us that, Rayfield, don't ever forget that the player that you are facing, or the player that's on another team, is a professional just like you are. So he's or she has gone through the exact same training, dedication, and made the commitment to become their very best. So you have to become your very best in order to compete. Running backs, let me say this, as an offensive lineman, I look at an offensive lineman as a car, for an example. If you have the most beautiful car in the world and it's sitting in your driveway, okay, but it doesn't have an engine in it, where's that car going? It's not going any place, is it, without that engine? So an offensive line is like an automobile that runs the vehicle. An offensive line runs that offense, not just the quarterback, but the offensive line. But they come together as one and make things successful for their team. So running backs are very, very important. Offensive linemen are every position that's on that team is very important, and they have to come together as a team to be successful. And that's a great example for life. You can't become successful by yourself. It takes people, but it takes the right people. And you will be able to recognize those right people that will help you.
Thank you, Marion Middle School. And I see we got about 8 minutes left. So we got time for probably a couple more questions. So let's go to Cazenovia in New York.
What advice do you have for the students on how to handle difficult people in their lifetime?
Can you help me out with that question, Jerry?
I couldn't get it either. So if we can repeat that a little louder.
Go up there. We're coming. We're coming up. Hold on.
Okay. He's getting closer to the microphone.
What advice do you have for the students on how to handle difficult people in their lifetime?
Well, there's a lot of things that you're going to face in life and that are difficult for you to handle or to get through, just like what I have faced. And the most important thing is you can't face and deal with situations or individuals on your own. So if there's questions or things that you see that you don't have, that is not going to help you, then you don't want to be involved with people that want to take you down and not want to assist you in other areas to help develop you. Because I had people in my life that did not want to see me excel in life. And what I did was I disassociated myself with the negatives and I placed myself with the positives. And you can get those positives from people who have been successful and people who know what's right and who know what's wrong, and that will help you develop your character in life. And that's a lot of people, because that's your teachers, your ministers, your coaches. They will help you and they will teach you, but you have to listen. And listening is so important in every phase of your life. Listening is so important for me because it still helps me in my development. So my desire to listen is greater than speaking.
And let's go to Kettle Run, and we might have one more after that, maybe back in Arlington. So go ahead, Kettle Run.
What was it like playing in the Super Bowl?
Well, this is very interesting because you work so hard to have a successful season that hopefully will take you to the ultimate game in football, and that is the Super Bowl. It's just astounding how the feeling of being there, and there's only two teams, and it says that you two teams are the best of the National Football League at that particular time. And all of the excitement, which you have to somehow kind of put all of that aside because you're there for a specific and a special reason. So you have to stay focused and you have to keep your concentration, and you cannot let all of the outside influences, take you over and you get involved in that, because you are there to perform, not just for yourself, but for your team. And it is so exciting. I played in 5, and it is so exciting to be there and to know that you are on one of the best teams for that particular year. And the excitement is overwhelming.
There's a great message in that as well for you students too. Unfortunately, he wasn't on the winning end of all those Super Bowl. Unfortunately, sometimes you don't always go on to be a Hall of Famer, and sometimes you don't go on to get an A on the test. Doesn't mean your effort wasn't there. What do you have to say with that regard, Mr. Wright, about maybe not getting that pinnacle achievement that you were aiming for?
Yeah, well, the thing is, you try very hard in your development and becoming the best person or the best player or the best worker in business that you possibly can. You always don't reach the goal, but you have given the very best that's inside of you. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But the most important thing is that you never quit. I remember in 1970, Jerry, that we played the Baltimore Colts at that time in the Super Bowl game. We lost the game by 3 points. A field goal by O'Brien that he kicked at the last minute. And we lost that game, but we never quit it because we knew that we could overcome that obstacle that kept us from winning the game. So we made a commitment that we will go back and prepare ourselves a little better, commit, dedicate ourselves, and believe it or not, the very next year, we played the Miami Dolphins in the Super Bowl, and we beat the Dolphins 24-3. But see, when you rededicate yourself to the negatives in your life, and you work hard and you never quit, good things are going to happen to you. But also remember, we lost 3 Super Bowls, and we only won 2. But at the same time, we gave our best. We performed our best, and on that particular day, we lost the game. But we never quit. We never gave up. And I challenge you and all the students around this country that are listening, no matter what it is, never quit.
That's a great message. Never quit. Never quit. Mr. Wright, are there any closing remarks you'd like to share that maybe we didn't touch on here today that you'd like to close with for this program with these students?
Well, there's a lot of things, a lot of questions that wasn't asked, but if there are things in your life as you travel the road of life that you are not comfortable with, that comes your way, you go to the library and look up a poem that helped me, and I learned in the 8th grade because we all travel down a road in life, and we don't know which way that road is going to take us. Are you going to follow the road that everyone else takes? Or are you going to venture out and take the road untraveled? I took the road that was untraveled in my life. And the interesting thing about that, I was the first football player professionally to come out of my small town. And I would go back every year and talk to the kids in that neighborhood. And you won't believe this, Jerry, but in that small town, there have been 28 players, athletes, that have entered the National Football League from that city, that little old small city. And I'm not saying I'm the one, but I'm sure I was an influence to them. Now, I want you to listen, students, to this poem. And you can go to your library and check it out because it's a poem of life. And it directed my path, and it helped my path. And it's a poem by Robert Frost, and it's named The Road Not Taken, as we travel the road of life. And it goes like this. There was 2 roads in a yellow wood, and I'm sorry that I couldn't travel both. Being one traveler, long I stood, looking down the other as far as I could, to where it bent in an undergrowth and took the other just as far, and having perhaps a better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear, knowing that the passing there had really warned them about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, yet knowing how way leads on the way, I doubt that I shall ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. There was 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. It has made all the difference in my life, and I know that it will make the difference in your life.
Students, if you could all unmute your microphones at all the schools and join me in just giving a warm round of applause to Pro Football Hall of Famer Rayfield Wright.
Thank you.